Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a video that's a little bit delayed, and that is the 2021 Postscript Tag. I thought that I could still fit it in there, squeeze it in, because people are still cranking out their end of year booktube content, and Rick and Ignacia both tagged me in this video, so I didn't want to make excuses. I feel like it's a very easy video to film, so thank you both. I love you guys. And let's just get started. I'm in my literal blanket that just happens to also be a wrap because it is freezing cold in my apartment. But we're just working with it, and I'm also much too lazy to try to disassemble this stacking situation, so I will just insert the books I talk about here. It's just one of those days, guys. But the first question is the longest book you read this year and the book that took you the longest to finish. So unfortunately, that's going to be a book I didn't even physically read. I listened to it, and that is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. And you may know if you've watched any of my videos where I spoke about it, but the reason it took me so long to finish was that I absolutely hated it, but I didn't want to give up on it. I was listening to it in October as part of my spooky books that I was reading for the spooky season, and I was listening to it in the car while we drove to New Hampshire, to Pittsburgh, my dad and I. So because he really liked it and was invested in the story, I didn't want to just give it up, and I already put in 24 plus hours, so I was like, I can just push through it. But I truly hated that book, and it's not like I'm not a King hater, guys. I've loved The Shining, I've really enjoyed Carrie, Misery was good. So that book was just absolutely brutal for me to get through. It made no sense. I didn't like the characters, didn't like the way the story went. So that was really one that I should have just put down. But I have read, a lot of people on BookTube are reading Tinies recently, so I really want to start reading some Tinies as well, just because I've been influenced. But I'm a sucker for a really long book. You may know that from watching some of my other videos, but that one just didn't work for me. And then question 2, a book you read this year that was outside of your comfort zone. So I have 2 for this one. One that was a success and one that was a major flop for me. The success was the 5th season, or just the whole Broken Earth trilogy, which is actually right here, by N.K. Jemisin. So this is a sci-fi fantasy extravaganza. It's a trilogy, and each book is fairly big itself, but I read them back to back to back because I absolutely loved the story. It has themes of ecological disaster and this dystopian world where the earth is quite literally crumbling around people, and it has themes of motherhood and friendship and war. It's this world where they're on this continent called, oh my god, what's it called? The Stillness. And it's not still. It really has earthquakes and natural disasters that every 100 or so years, everyone to survive has to go underground or find these communities to make it through before they can come out and start the new day, because ash falls from the sky and you can't breathe and you can't live above ground. And the story is really, really smart, and N.K. Jemisin just makes this world feel so full and so real. And the characters you fall in love with, and N.K. Jemisin is just so smart with her storytelling, kind of weaving of narratives in a really unique way that surprised me, kept me interested. So I don't read a lot of high fantasy like that. I'm not really sure of the definition of high fantasy, but you know it when you see it. Maybe you can define it for me, but that to me was my first huge fantasy series, and I loved it. And then a book outside my comfort zone that was not a success for me, unfortunately, was The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. So I mentioned I've dabbled in some Stephen King books I absolutely loved. I'm thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, some Schweblin, which has some kind of spooky horror vibes, but Stephen Graham Jones is known as a horror writer, and people have really loved The Only Good Indians, but unfortunately it didn't work for me in any capacity. It is about a group of men who were friends in their childhood, and they lived on a indigenous reservation together, and then their lives kind of all go in different directions, but they're all kind of united and tied to one another based on this act of violence that they committed in their teenage years, and this come back to haunt them in their adulthood. And it's basically a slasher, one by one they fall kind of book, which I'm not opposed to, but for me it was really like this excessively masculine, macho energy to the book that I just am never going to enjoy. I think when you have a really unique writing style, you're trying something different, there has to be a reason, and for me the story and the writing style didn't work well together. I just didn't know why he went that direction with the writing. So yes, I really, that's probably my least favorite book of the year. Question 3, how many books did you reread this year? Only one, and it's a book that I reread almost every year, so it's not that exciting, but this leads to the next question, favorite reread of the year, and that is of course the only one I read, which is Little Women. I do try to reread this every year. I think I did skip 2020. I don't really know why. I guess I was just cranking out other books, but I read it in 2019, and it's just one that like brings me a lot of happiness and joy and comfort into my life. I usually reread it around Christmas time, and I just love it. It's overly sentimental and mushy, and I love every second of it. So that's probably one that I will reread again next year. Question 5, a book you read for the first time this year that you look forward to rereading in the future. So I promised myself I wasn't going to mention any of the books that I included in my top 10 of the year. But if I were going to, I would say Pyrenees Sea is of course one that I plan on rereading as soon as possible. But another book that I would like to reread, because I still think about it so often, but when I initially read it and put it down, I was like, that kind of maybe hit me the wrong way, but it was incredibly written, and I think I really loved it, but I don't know why I feel strangely towards it, and that's Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi. So that is a quite intense, emotional, dark read about a mother-daughter pair and the inheritance of trauma and the situations that may arise when the person who's charged to care for you doesn't, but then you eventually have to care for them, or you feel compelled or responsible to care for them, because our main narrator's mother, who was really neglectful of her as a child, develops dementia or Alzheimer's, and now the daughter has to care for her, and she kind of uses this as a way to manipulate her mother, and things get very strange. But it was like so brilliant, but I just was like, oof, I don't know if I'm enjoying this. But I think that's a book I need to give another shot, because I think I might appreciate it more now knowing where it goes, if that makes sense. Okay, so then favorite single short story or novella that you read this year? So I haven't read many short story collections. I guess I have. I've read Samantha Schweblin's short story collection, Tessa Moshfegh's, and Marina Enriquez. I think that might be it. But of those 3, I think one of the most powerful ones that I really enjoyed and was very creepy and uncomfortable was Samantha Schweblin's short story collection, Mouthful of Birds, the title story for that. It was very strange. There were a few real gems in that collection, but that's the one that really kind of crept up on me the most and was really smart and grotesque and really awesome. So that was my answer. And then question 7, Mass Appeal, a book you liked and would recommend to a wide variety of readers. For me, it's got to be How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherry Jones. So this was up for the Women's Prize for Fiction this year, or 2021, and it's quite an intense, heavy book, but I think there's so much that would make it appeal to a really wide variety of readers, because there's aspects of a generational tale, like this kind of huge saga. The setting is so rich for people who really read for that, but then there's also like thriller aspects, and it is kind of has like these moments of horror and intense like psychological distress, but it does also have these themes of motherhood and mothering and what does it mean to be a mother. I loved that book. It could have made it to my top 10. That's top 10. That's how much I loved it. But I think I would recommend it to a lot of people. My mom loved it, and we love the same type of historical fiction, sad sisterhood books, but other than that, we don't always agree on, or we just don't have the same taste, but we both loved that, and I think that book is kind of a composite of a lot of different things, so I would recommend it. Then question 8, Specialized Appeal, a book you liked but would be hesitant to recommend to just anyone. First up, it's gotta be A Peculiar Peril by Jeff Vandermeer. Don't think I have anyone in my life, both friends, people on the internet, anyone that I would recommend this to or that I think would actually enjoy this. I have yet to meet somebody who I think would like this. There's nothing I could tell you to like prepare you for it. It's YA, but not really. I mean, I don't know what the cutoff is for complexities and bizarreness and just absolute fuck-allness mess. But I liked it. It's just made no sense. So I haven't recommended it to anyone. But if you read it and you like it, let me know and maybe we can find somebody who would like it. But another one for specialized appeal that I would recommend to some people, but you have to be committed, and that's The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. So first of all, it's an absolute tome. It's maybe almost 1,000 pages, maybe less, but it's huge. It is complex, and you're following a huge cast of characters in the gold rush, and it's a historical novel, but don't let that turn you off if you're not into historical fiction, because it's really like, it feels like you're playing the game, what's that game with all the people? Clue? Whatever. It feels like you're playing a game like that, and there's been a crime, or actually a series of crimes, and over a really short condensed period of time that's kind of inked out into 800, 900 plus pages, you are following 12 plus different characters and all of their different ways they're connected to these crimes. It's like a whodunit, but it's like a deep dive into these characters' lives and into this gold rush setting. And I think it's a specialized appeal because it does have this whole astrological aspect to it, which I know I didn't understand any of because I literally just know I'm a Taurus and I don't have any other information about astrology or the suns, the moons, or whatever. So I know that I didn't get that, but it's supposed to be like an inkling that all of these things were fated and that we're just all little chess pieces. But the book is painstakingly slow at a lot of points. Like these small details that that are repeated and repeated and repeated, and then you switch to another character and they repeated it, but just in another lens. But if you push through all that, you eventually get to the part where it's like you're having whiplash, things are moving so quickly. But for the first 75% of the book, it's pretty intensely slow. But I can't say that I didn't love it, because I did. I would recommend it to some people. Question 9, reflect on your year as a bookish content creator, goals met, good, bad memories, favorite videos you made, etc. So yeah, it is my first year on the booktube. So really I'm just happy. I did it just for fun. In the height of the pandemic, I was living at home and I just wanted something to be fun and to connect me to people and hopefully expand my circle, and it's done that times 100. I never expected to actually have so many people want to tune in and watch my videos. I thought I would have my parents plus a few and you've all been so wonderful, so that was a big surprise that people actually care and that I've really met great human beings that I could talk to even on Instagram, texting. So just the amount of amazing people out there, sometimes you forget. I think my favorite videos that I made this past year, one, my Women's Prize for Fiction Reading the Shortlist video. Not that it was anything exciting, but I think it was fun for me to read a specific list of books, and I am so annoying that I love so many new releases, but Pyrenees Sea, Transcendent Kingdom, How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House, and more. I loved so many of those books, so it was I found a bunch of new favorites in a really speedy video, so that was amazing. And then my other video, just for my own personal reasons, I love my birthday vlog, or when Marco surprised me with that cabin upstate for my birthday, and I was reading a ton of French and we were in the woods and it was cozy, and I just love that because it was a special weekend. So those are probably my favorite videos. Tag fellow bookish content creators. I feel like everyone has already done this video, but if you haven't, this is your formal invitation to crank it out in the next few days before everyone's over 2021 content. But I hope this was fun and speedy, and I love you all. Bye.